It's called. What is it called? Crypto Church.
Crypto. Okay. Thanks.
Does anybody have any way to join it if you're not an iPhone user?
No, you got to have an iPhone. That's the thing.
That's terrible.
Yeah, that's why I was asking if anybody got an iPhone.
Anybody else with an iPhone want to hook me up?
So yeah, I mean, do you have an iPhone?
No, I'm Android.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's why I was asking if everybody had an iPhone or not. That way, we could have a group on there and stuff. But if they don't have an iPhone, then it kind of defeats the whole purpose of it. So, but definitely think that whoever hasn't done so yet, make sure that you create a Discord account, because I think we're gonna start moving everything over to Discord. We're doing some test runs earlier today, and I was able to get most of the stuff set up. But so yeah, make sure also that your name is something that I know, and not some random name. Because if I don't know the random name, then I won't let you in the room.
Has anyone had issues setting up Discord on Windows? I keep getting error messages when I try to load it.
On what?
Windows platform.
Oh, okay. I don't know, because I don't use Windows, so it won't be much help with that.
There's a what?
didn't
There's an
have it
error,
as
it
well.
says?
Right, when I run the executable file, it'll sit and spin for a little bit, and then it'll just say error cannot load. Then I'll remove it and try to reinstall it, and it keeps happening over and over.
Try to do it on your iPhone first, and then do it on your Windows.
I hate to say this, but I've been anti-Apple since the beginning of time, and I'll die
so you
that
have a
way.
Mac?
I don't do Apple
Oh, okay.
products.
Wow.
Frank, I would restart your computer and try to load the executable again.
Okay, I'll do that after this call then. Thank you, Rim.
You're welcome.
Don't they have an app for Android also, though, right?
Yeah, I've got
They
the
do.
Android app, and yeah.
So I don't know if you could do it on the Android app first and see, have it set up,
Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay.
on there, whatnots.
All right, I'll give it a go.
But cool. Any questions on anything?
Mark, in looking at, I think it was like a Euro odd and maybe odd J, like there are, I guess in level 3, and they had huge, either drop-offs or just shot up during Asian session. And we're typically taught to avoid trading in Asia, but is there any way to kind of look, I guess using EMAs to look forward to see when that move might be happening?
On AUD pairs?
I think it was Euro odd that I was looking at earlier today. Like on Friday, I think it dropped like a rock during Asia.
Yeah.
And like Thursday night or Thursday during New York, you have that M pattern that formed late in the day. But I typically try not, unless I'm holding a swing trade, try not to hold trades overnight.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to trading, during the Asian range, I mean, honestly, I haven't done it. Like, just trade strictly Asian range. So I'm not going to tell you something that, whether it works or not, because I haven't done it yet. I don't need to, you know what I mean? Like I look for my trade setups and that's what I take and that's it. I don't look for anything else. I don't care about anything else. I do know that if you reach out to Eric, he trades pound AUD, and that's like the only thing that he trades. And he trades it during Asia. So that might be a good resource to reach out to.
Okay.
But yeah, I know that, you know, during Asian range, AUD pairs obviously are going to move, and a lot of that movement, you know, typically comes 9, 8:30, 9 o'clock or so, and that's just because of news. That's when the news happens for AUD pairs and NZD pairs. NZD typically is at 10. AUD pairs typically is at like 9:30, 8 o'clock or so. It just depends on the news events, but those news events do move. Um, it does move those markets. So if you ever see like for example, this right here, 8 p.m. monetary policy on NZD is going to move that market for sure. Um, you know, so you have 7:30. So all these news events that happen during Asia for the AUD pairs, like cash rate, all that stuff moves those markets. That's why you have those Asian ranges that are literally like, you know, 50, 60, 80 pips sometimes. So that's kind of normal behavior for those specific pairs. You know, I just don't trade Asian range, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. I don't want to give you any kind of wrong direction on something that I haven't back tested myself.
Appreciate that.
So, any other questions? Does everybody feel like they have clear understanding, levels, resets, weekly cycles, entries, exits, EMAs?
Honestly, I'm still struggling with resets.
Okay. What's the struggle?
Just identifying them.
Finding them?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, they're not always going to be there, right? So if I look at this chart, so here's a good example. If I look at this chart here, okay, and let me see here, what is this? If I'm looking at this chart, and what is this? This is Euro AUD. Euro AUD typically is well over 100 pips, you know, per day or whatnot. I want to say it's like at least 130. So it's around 390, 400 or so pips, right? If I'm looking at just this chunk right here, and see this is 322 or so, I would typically say that you would have 3 levels from here to here. This would be a reset going down. So like, you know, in a downtrend, right, you have this, right? The downtrend. Just like in an uptrend, you have this, right? You have a move, retracement, move, retracement, move, retracement, right? Same concept, right? You have move, retracement, move, retracement, move. The only difference is that you're getting your 3 levels, and then instead of going up here, you're going straight down like this, and you're passing the previous low, and this becomes your reset. This becomes your peak formation high, and then you start counting again. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it would be like, let's say this is the top, level 1, level 2, let's say level 3 comes up. You're supposedly at level 1. You're expecting to move up to go higher. you don't get that move to go higher, you actually go lower. 1, 2. So this ends up being peak, level 1, level 2, level 3. This right here is your reset. It also becomes peak formation high again. And then this is level 1, level 2, level 3, reverse. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see the 200 EMA actually resisting for that reset. Is that something that always happens?
It's not something that always happens. It's something that you can see happening. Just like, let's say on this one, if you look at on the bigger time frame, this right here is probably going to end up being, because you got to imagine this trend has been going for a while. Do you see this? Right.
Right.
So on a bigger time frame, literally, I can already tell you the resets on on this on a bigger time frame are here. That's a reset there, and this is a reset there.
Right.
Because literally from here to here, you'll have 3 levels. You'll go up 1, you'll break the low, and then you have your 3 levels going down, your W. There's first level. Nope, you break it, and then you keep going down. Just remember that all a reset is allows price action to keep going in one direction. Because you can't keep going from here to here in one straight shot. You know what I mean?
Is it safe to call it, I mean, a pullback? I guess you can call it a pullback for a big trend.
Yeah, that's what it's exactly what it is. Yes. Think about it like this: if you're on a 4-hour chart, and let's say that price action is up here, and market makers want to come down here, right? So they're at 168, but they want price to be 160 before they reverse, right? So if they're up here, they're not just going to automatically just drop down all the way to here in one fell swoop. You know, this will literally take a couple of weeks, you know, on a bigger time frame. Let's say if you're looking at it on a daily or a 4-hour or whatnot, so this will take a couple of weeks for them to go from here to here. So what does that look like? Well, they'll make their peak, they'll go sideways, they'll drop down, they'll go sideways again, they'll drop down, they'll make a W here, they'll go up. This is when you might see, let's say, a 50 cross here and then like a 200 here, or you might see a 50 and 200 down here and an 800 up here. It'll go here, consolidate, and then it'll drop, consolidate, drop. Do you get what I'm saying? This becomes a reset here. You have your 3 levels of drop, 1 level up, reset, peak formation, and then drops down. And so they make this move over time, you know.
Would the Fibonacci retracement help with that or confirm a reset?
I can't tell you that if it does or not because I haven't used it like that. I don't use it like that.
Right.
Never thought about using it in that sense to confirm resets or anything like that.
Okay.
I think the best thing that you can use is how many pips of movement have they gone in one direction without pulling back for a big pullback.
3 times the ADR.
Yeah. So 3 times ADR is typically how long they'll go between high and low before they'll pull back. If they want to go lower, that's cool. They'll pull back and then they'll go lower. You know?
Yeah, that's the only thing, because resets, they kind of trip me out a little bit. They look like level ones, and I never counter trend the level one, counter trade the level one, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Just like literally once you see him, once you see it, you cannot. It's like one of those. You ever been on Facebook and you're looking at, you're going through your feed and you get to one of like those, kind of pictures that have like, I don't know, a gazillion lines on them, but beneath the lines there's like an actual photo of something, of like a bear or a panda or something like that.
Right. It makes a whole like big
And it's
picture
it's
out of
kind of
it.
hard. It's kind of very faint, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. When you first look at it, it's just a bunch of lines, but then you look at it and you're like, oh shit, there's a panda or something in the
It's
background.
like illusion, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so once you see it, right, you can't unsee it anymore. It's the same thing. Once you start seeing it over and over and over again, you just
Right, right. I get the point. Yeah, yeah. Right. So like it's just keep training your mind
once you
until you
see
see
it,
it.
literally won't be able to just unsee it.
Right.
It's just there, and you're like, shit, how, I cannot, you can't unsee that. So imagine if you're looking at these trends, and I mean, if you go look at the daily, let's say, so that makes it easier. If you look at the daily at this trend here, I mean, just by looking at it, here's your reset right there. Do you see how all the other pullbacks go to like the 50 here? And then you have this one pullback that's deeper.
Ah, I see.
And then all the rest of the pullbacks go to the 50, 50,
Right.
50, 50. Do you see that?
Right.
Always one pullback that's a little bit deeper than the 50. That pullback that's deeper than the 50, that's your reset.
Mm.
Well, then, Mark, is it also kind of true that you have like a lower high, and then you have that reset kind of takes out that previous lower high. So would that be another indication?
I'm sorry, you're very choppy on the voice. I can't understand what you're saying.
Sorry, I have a new computer, so I'm still trying to figure out the audio. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay. So is it true that it also kind of takes out the previous lower high as well? So and that one had a lower high and then it kind of went higher again and then it continues lower high.
Yeah. So a big thing that you'll notice is that it'll go to the next, to the next bigger EMA, but also you'll have almost like a one-time ADR in one direction. So it'll seem like the trend is changing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it'll just be a deeper pullback than everything else that you've seen.
Okay, got it.
So just have to go. Yeah, levels are going to take time. I think if you use more of the ADR to help you out, I think that'll help out tremendously. And I think another thing as well is when you're counting levels, like don't count levels, like don't grab, let's say, just a little piece, don't grab like this little piece here just because it looks good. You're like, yeah, that's level 1, 2, 3, and then you can count the levels here. You know what I mean? But then when you move over and you try to keep going, like you get lost. You know what I mean?
That's me.
Yeah, like don't you're not doing yourself any favor by saying, yeah, I counted this part of the levels, but like what about the rest of the part? You know what I mean? Like you're not doing yourself any favors by doing that. You're doing yourself a disservice by
Right.
doing that.
Right.
You know. So if it doesn't make sense, try to use logic. Try to zoom out of the charts. You know, go to a much. If you're on the 1 hour, go to the 4 hour. You know, see what's happening on the 4 hour, because a lot of times that'll clear up the bigger picture for you. But it's just literally time and back testing is all it is. That's all it is. Replaying, marking up. And so really by the time when you're back testing and stuff, especially if it's a pair that that you like, you know, that you like, that you're gonna keep trading and stuff like that, the pairs like that, when you go back, you know, year and a half or whatever, you should be marking those up, to where by the time you get to where price action is now in today's time, like you should already have like all your levels and all that stuff already done, you know? Because you're just following along, from whenever you started from 2019 or 20 or whatever. Any other questions?
So, one question about the homework that you sent back. You talked about more about directional bias using the EMAs. Uh, I get what you mean with that, like with the 50 pushing price down and etc. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the directional bias?
So I mean, think about this directional bias. Like if you don't have a directional bias, like how are you going to trade? You know, how are you going to trade if you don't have a directional bias? So when you come up to the charts at 3 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock or whatever, right? And it's especially when it's like on a Sunday, Monday, so you don't have any kind of, you know, data that you can use from this week because it's a new week. What are you doing when you come up to the charts?
Just looking, I guess. Analyzing.
So that's my point. What is it that you're looking at?
Right.
Are you just literally just dead staring at charts for, and you don't know what you're looking at?
No,
Or are you trying to map out, like, you know, where's the closest high at, or you know, where's going to be, let's say where the levels are, or you know what last week did and stuff like that.
right. That's usually what I'd look into for sure.
So you got to know like where the bigger picture is going, right? And I'm in the bigger picture, I mean, like for me, when I think of bigger picture, I think of like daily chart, right? If you go onto the daily chart of the pair that you're looking at, can you tell where the overall big picture direction is going? If you can't tell that on the daily chart, which should be like the clearest, you know, chart that there is for the most part, right? Because it takes away all the noise and all that crap, you know. If you can't tell what's going on the daily chart within like 1 minute, then you probably should not be looking at that chart, you know? Because if you can't tell what's going on the daily, how on God's green earth can you tell what's going on a 15-minute chart? You know, if you go up to a chart and you're looking at the daily and you don't know what's going on. Here's a daily. When you look at this daily, what kind of speaks out to you? What does it tell you when you look at this daily?
I look at the EMAs a lot, and I see how the 200 is literally rebounding back, and it's looking like a downtrend has been for a while.
Right.
But then right now we're at an uptrend, obviously.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's take everything away. Just look at a naked chart. What do you see?
A downtrend, obvious downtrend.
Right. You've been going in a downtrend for God knows how many years, right? Because this is the daily chart. So we're talking years now. We're not talking weeks or months.
Right.
I mean, this is all the way back in 2000. This is 2015 back here, right? So generally, since 2015 or beyond, you've been literally trending down, trending down, trending down, trending down. You see that?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, now, for the first time in a while, you've broken structure to actually go higher. Do you see that? So just look at the bigger picture and what are the main points? You know, what are the main areas here? You see that? And then what are the main areas that are right now happening that matter? Right? So what are the main points that matter right now from this chart? You're looking at this area here. Where is this? You're looking at that area there, right? See how all this connects? You're looking at this range here. You're looking at this range here. Right? That's the immediate area there.
Right.
Then if we zoom back a little bit, you have this up here. You have, this is basically all the same area here. Right? So where's price at right now?
It's in the middle.
It's in the middle, right? It's pretty close right now actually to this area here. You see that? So it's very close to this area. So you want to see, how does price, now that it's up here, how is this going to basically react to this area? Because if we look at the numbers, what's the numbers here? 25. Okay, so 25, call it 26 even, right? 126 is the number, is the even number. So we want to see what happens when price gets up to 126. How does it react? Is it going to react to this at all here? Because if it doesn't react to this at all, where is it going to go?
Keep going up.
Keep going up, right? The next area is all the way up here where these highs are, where this high is, all these little highs, all this entire range here, right? So that'll be around, let's say 128 to keep it simple, right? So 128. So if we don't make any kind of, it's like a train going through. If it doesn't make a stop at 126 and it keeps going, likelihood it's going to go to 128, right? Is it going to make it there in one day? No, it's going to take a couple days. It may take a couple weeks. I don't know. You know, but the overall picture that you have is that if it goes through 126, then we're headed to 128. And then we'll see what price happens when it gets up here.
Right.
So how is price going to get up there essentially to how we look at it from a smaller time frame? So now that we got a picture of where prices, could be going to, how do we start to put this stuff together essentially to help us? Because our bias right now for that is to go higher, right? That's what the bias is to go higher. So, what does that look like when we start putting back our stuff?
Looks like the EMAs are agreeing with you.
So, if we look, we had what was the number that we're trying to get to? 120,
120.
126 is right here. So that's already
126.
there.
Yeah,
The other one was what, 128, right?
128 even.
128. So let's put it here just so we can have some reference. So how do we get basically from 128 from 126 to 128? How do we get there?
Either
If you
trending
look
cycle.
at
Oh,
this
sorry.
trend here, right? Where's their reset at? Just in this little space here. Where's the reset at? There's a reset. Where's it at?
On the 15th?
It's ended at 122,679, the yellow line right there.
There's
Right.
the reset.
Yeah, you just marked
Right.
it, the red box.
Now I didn't count anything, right? I didn't count anything, or I'm literally just visually looking at this. And what's the point, that out of that trend that sticks out the most, that could possibly be a reset? Is that one area that comes down more than the other areas? You see what I mean? It's that one area that comes down more than the rest. So this dip is a lot deeper than this, and this, and this. Right? You see, it's almost a whole week. Do you see that? It's a whole week trending cycle there. That's where your reset is. So you follow me so far? So all right. So let's do some counting now. From here, it's about 320. This is what, pound Swiss. So pound Swiss is at least 100, 110 maybe. 3 times that is what, 330 or so. So it's already, from the reset, it's already gone up about 3 times ADR. Does that make sense so far? So because it's already gone up 3 times ADR and it's a new week, we just had a trending cycle here, right? We just had another trending cycle. So a trending cycle down and then a trending cycle up. Let's just say that market makers want to go up to this 128. How do we make that happen? How can we think of that happening? There's like literally 2 scenarios that play out in my mind right now of how that might happen. One is like, let's say for 1 week, you have an accumulation cycle, right? To accumulate contracts for that week. And then the week after that, you can have, let's say, another trending cycle. Or what I think the more likely is going to be that it does maybe a market maker cycle this week, right? Because the market maker cycle would go like this, right? And that would basically give them an option to do basically another reset. So then the next week after that, they could have a trending cycle going up. Does that make sense?
Clear. Nice and clear. Yeah. That was dope.
So let's say they go from here to like up here, maybe that's 3.2 or maybe 3.5 times ADR. they'll get the midweek reversal, they'll be able to do a peak formation here, and then they'll be able to go down, you know, 1 or 1.5 levels or so. And then the following week, they can now do a reset and then go, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And then go up to
Right.
128.
Yeah, that was clean right there.
You know, and if you do the math, I mean, they would have to go, let's just say that a full cycle from here to here, from the 128, if we measure it down, if this shit ever wants to work. So let's say somewhere around here. So they'd have to come back, let's just say, to 120. I don't know, let's work with even numbers. So around 124, 500 or 120, 125 or so. So if you have a full, let's say a full cycle, right, from here, meaning 3 times ADR. So 3 times ADR to get to here is from here. So that means that if this works, if this is what they do, you would have your market maker cycle, whatever, and then somewhere around here is where you would have your reset. From the reset up to here, that's 3 times ADR. Does that make sense?
Do the EMAs, them spreading out that way, also help you confirm that the trend's almost over?
No, what would help you, I mean, the EMAs being spread out is a good indication of just the trend itself has already convinced everybody to go long. Right? So the trend is obvious, right? So the trend is just going to try to continue to get more people to go. So you might get this, let's say this market maker cycle or whatnots, maybe it comes down and taps the 800 here for the reset and then goes up.
Right. That's what I
Mhm.
was, yeah.
If this is going to go to 28, it's going to, it's not going to, on the 1 hour chart, it's not going to go, it should not go below the 800 EMA. Do you get what I'm saying? It's been how many weeks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks since it's interacted with the 800. Right? The trend is clear, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just had an interaction with the 200. So it's time to have an interaction with the 800. Complete the three times ADR, come down, do the reset, and then go up. Let's just say. And so this is all, thinking about if they are wanting to go to 128, right? They're already at 126. So they're already at a good point. So if they don't want to go any higher, right, which is right here, they can just reverse and then, keep it going down. You know what I mean? But if they want to make it to 128, they have to reset. If they don't reset, I mean, that doesn't make any sense. They'd be going, pretty much like 6 times ADR almost. That doesn't make any sense.
Right. And
So they would need to,
your TDR also shows that it's overbought as well.
right, yeah. So I mean that's on the 4 hour. This is even on the 1 hour. You see that? And so this, I mean, if you look at the TDI, this right here is here. This one that's higher is lower. So, I mean, you already have divergence starting to play out. You see what I mean?
Right.
So you already have divergence essentially starting to play out here. So does all that make sense to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mark, that was really helpful. Thanks.
All right. So somebody pick me a pair or give me a pair.
Gold again, please.
Gold.
Yeah, gold. Last time you made it look really easy when you were back testing. I try to do the same thing, but
How long have you been trading this?
The right way, like the way you would trade it, not so long ago.
Okay, so if you haven't been trading it long, how can you expect to have the same results?
Right, but like pound CAD, pound NZD, pound AD, like pound USD, they like what when I back test them, it's pretty straightforward. But gold is just I don't know.
Well, think about it. Gold is something different. It's a commodity.
And maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Exactly.
Gold is a commodity. You know what I mean? It's not.
But it does follow the same technical rules, right?
For the most part, yeah. But I mean, it's still it's like this though. Think about it like this. It's like saying Bitcoin follows the same ideology, right? But then here comes Tesla and puts $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think it's still going to follow the same ideology?
Right.
Do you know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the problem with with gold, is that we're not talking about market makers.
Supply demand.
We're talking about something way different. And so that's where it's different in the sense that you want to stick with gold and more with if you're doing more with gold, you have to pay attention a lot more to the higher time frames than you would than you would just staying on like the 15-minute chart. I mean, I think honestly, like back testing gold is going to be pretty easy because we already know that it just goes up.
Oh yeah, because of that area time, right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's kind of like trying to back test Bitcoin.
Right. And I lie. I mean, if anybody wants
going up, and you just have a big retracement.
Right. I mean, if anybody wants a pair to trade, go ahead.
What's a pair that somebody finds very hard?
You can do pound NZD. It's not hard. It's volatile.
I was gonna say that.
I think you just said that because you just want to do pound NZD. It's like Troy's country. Troy country.
Yeah, NZD, AUD, and USD, and pound CAD.
Troy country. All right, let's do. Let's see if it'll go back. Yes. All right, so we're entering Troy country here. So all questions can be directed towards him.
So
All
if you wanted to catch 50 pips on this and your stop loss is like what 30 pips, like the ratio would be kind of off, no?
Not at all.
No. Why would you say it'd be off?
Well, because when I back test it, I always like see price going 30 pips down, and then before it goes to the direction I want it to go.
That's what it does, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, it's a high stop loss value.
You got to get in on the wicks. Like, I'm not suggesting this, but if you see the setup, understand the behavior, you're at the numbers, double zeros, 50s, you can go on a 1 minute chart or a 5 minute chart just to verify, get in on a pin, then ride that thing down. Then you don't have to wait for the engulfment, the pin,
Right.
and risk 35, 28, 30 pips just to get 42. But
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this trading these pairs, AUD, NZD pairs that have higher pip value is definitely more about studying the behavior of those pairs, because knowing, and this is, by the way, this is good with any pair, but I'm saying studying the behavior, with about those pairs, studying the behaviors that they do is going to help you tremendously, and in the sense that you'll be able to, instead of having to wait for a 5 and 13 cross, you'll be able to get in, like Troy was just saying, on the wicks, or a couple candles before the cross even happens, because you're understanding what the behavior is doing, what they're doing with with what they're wanting to do for the day. Just remember that at the end of the day, really what you're trying to find is you're trying to find the high and the low of the day, right? The M's and W's that you want to trade also coincide with being the high or the low of the day. That's really all that you're trying to do, is literally trying to find the daily high and the daily low. That's all you're trying to do, just to keep it as simple as possible.
Mark, are you at some point going to go over the round numbers? And because obviously Troy just mentioned it, so how useful is that? And are you going to kind of cover that for us?
I mean, the round numbers is pretty simple. Round numbers are
Mhm.
just psychological levels, right? And
Right.
in it, when you really break it down, all the psychological numbers are just support and resistance that just happen to be at 0 numbers. So the numbers are, if you're at 0 here, you have 250, 500, 750, and 0 again. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So if you're going from, let's say, this number here, 107 000, then the next point is going to be 250, and then 500, and then 750, and then back down 0 again. You get what I'm saying?
Right. So say, for example, there was a M formation off of the 700, then that could be a confirmation as well, instead of having
I
to
mean,
wait for it to
look at
cross.
what's happening right now. 2.07500. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So what happens there? Look, that's also happens to coincide with being the high of Asia as well, and then you get a railroad track there. So
Okay.
putting all that together, you can get in after the railroad track. See the pullback,
Hmm.
and then that could be a trade right there.
Got
Take
it. Okay.
profit up to 200 or 800. But I mean, honestly, like, that's all it is. So that's why I don't go into a crazy video about it, because I mean, all it is just literally psychological levels that us humans are literally attracted to, because we like 0 numbers. We like even numbers.
Right. So it can just be another confirmation for getting in, or you know,
It can be, yes.
as a
If you see price action spiking to you know, a 700, whatever, 750 or 500 or 250 or 00, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
You expect to get some kind of reaction at that level.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say something quick about that. If you go back through your charts and literally just back test, you can do it on any pair, stocks, indices, it doesn't matter. All you have to do is look and see every time where the trade comes from. If it's from a high or from a low, where are you at? More than likely, you're going to be at either triple zeros or 50s. If it's a 25 level, it'll be a level to where it's consolidating, trapping volume high or low, and then dropping off.
Yeah. So just look at the previous day, right? Where is this happening at? Where is this spiking to? Where is this one spiking to? You see what I mean? Where is
Yeah.
this one spiking to down here? That's literally what it is.
So like Trey was saying, with the wicks on this and then hitting those round numbers. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The wicks is what's really going to hit those numbers. A lot of time, the solid actual close of the candle is going to be way below it or way above it. You know what I'm saying? So you'll like here, you know, you'll have the wick is what actually hits those numbers. You know what I mean? But the candle itself closes way above that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
So
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. That's really helpful.
yeah, no worries. All right, so this right here, this right here could have been a trade too. Going down, your take profits are here and here. This is only Sunday, Monday, so it's 7:30. Okay, so the sun just keeps going.
And missed that continuation of that wick that went up. It was
Yeah,
that must have been, was that 7 o'clock?
this right here was 7 o'clock is right here. Yep,
7:30.
7 o'clock, and so
Right before 8 o'clock. Yep.
8 o'clock. All right, so really, that's another. This right here, pinning, um, what you call it, pinning to this 200. I think that the biggest problem with this, right, is that this is going straight down. You're already well into the New York session. You get a pullback. Now you get the 200 here. You get a pin to the 200 there. And you can see where price action or the EMAs is going straight through price. You see that, right? So automatically I'm already thinking that this is going to be like a accumulation type of cycle because of that. So really the play that I would have is, if it's going to me, a continuation trade is something that you take up high and not not like this, but something like this, where especially when you have a pin. somewhere like this. The question is this entry here going to give you 30 pips to get at least to the low? Because that's the only thing that you have to go off of. If you get anything extra than that, that's awesome. But you don't, that's not something that's guaranteed always. So the question becomes, where's my thing at? How many pips is it from like here to here? So that is that true? That is true. It's 181 pips.
That's crazy.
This is COVID. That's why. Yeah, 222, 305. Yeah, this is COVID. That's why. That's why the ADR is so big.
Small candle would be like 50 pips. You're good.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, see, you make it to the low, low, low. And, you know, I mean, just making it there's 100 and something pips on that. But you got to think at the same time, if that move, if that move is 100 and something pips, what's this? You know what I mean? This is probably like 94 pips or something like that. So the risk on these are going to be extremely high because of this is the COVID right at the beginning of COVID. So all right, so the biggest thing that I see in this week is just the fact that you have that, and the biggest clue is right here with the EMAs going straight sideways. So if this is the case, you're probably going to have an accumulation cycle. And so I'm really more interested in seeing, do we get a pattern that happens here and here, whether it be a W or an M, to basically trade back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So my bias is solely based on whether or not price action can hang on to that line there, or that area, I should say. All right. You see that right there? This is the behavior that I'd be looking for. This. Where is it pinning to, by the way? Do you see that?
Yep.
99,500.
Clear as day.
So this would be a trade for me going back up.
Yeah, and you got 3 pushes down. I can't see the left though, where it hit the stops at. That'll help out too. Like where exactly, who are they stopping out? Oh, okay. Yep. That's good. I see it.
Yeah, see.
Stopping out the guy on Thursday. Yep.
And also on Wednesday, this one here.
Yep.
So that for me would be like a trade right there, going back up. And then there would be like a 4-to-1 trade right there.
That's 62 stop loss, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Welcome to COVID prices, baby. Those are COVID. That's a COVID discount for you. You're lucky it ain't 120. Imagine what it is on gold. Just imagine what it is on gold. Look at that beautiful thing.
Mark, that was kind of one of my questions from our last week's homework. How do you make the decision, and this is a perfect case example of it, whether or not you're going to take the profit at the 200 or the 800?
So my first target would be the 200. And if I can get a 2-to-1, that's what I came for, and that I'll be happy with. You know, if the 800 is
Right.
right above it, you can try to aim for the 800. But I mean, for me, I like to just take my profit and be done for the day.
Right. Keep it simple.
For me, I'm not trying to. The whole goal of me trading is to have more time, right? And so the
Right.
sooner I can get out of a trade, I don't have to think about trading or anything like that. I can enjoy the rest of the day.
That's a
How
good
many
point.
times have you been in a trade, you left it open, and you're constantly doing is thinking about the stupid trade?
Right.
You can
Okay.
never enjoy, doing what you want to do because you're in the back of your mind. Oh my God, is it? Did I get stopped out? Did I do this? Did I do that? So for me, I take my profit, call it a day, go to bed, or go do whatever I was planning on doing or whatnots.
Yeah. Don't get greedy. Just,
Don't
take it where it makes sense.
just take it and go. I mean, yeah, in this case, this would have been like another 80 pips or so because of COVID. But I mean, generally speaking, it's more like another maybe 15 pips or so. I mean,
Right.
so to me, that extra 15 pips isn't worth an extra 2 hours of waiting. You know what I mean? When I just got, 4-1.
Right.
So to me, it just doesn't make sense. I just go about my day, go
Okay.
about my business and stuff. And that's probably going to go here and then maybe go sideways. Up to the 50. Yep.
You got 3 trades in 2 days, and it's only Tuesday.
And these are big trades too.
Yep.
These are big trades too. The big boy trades. Shit. You're looking at that's 250 pips right there. That one's another freaking 220. Like I ain't trading for the rest of the week.
Yeah, I think if you had 1.52 standards on there, so
That's
you'd
what
be
I'm
good.
saying.
Yep.
Ain't
2
no
trades
point.
for the week and be done.
Ain't no chance in hell I'm trading the rest of the week. I'm out. So here we go back. You can see the price action during Asia takes it right back right back towards the bottom here. So EMA is still going through price. I'm still looking for buys to take me up. The only way I'm looking for sells is if we come down, we break past, and then we're, let's say in a trending cycle at that point. But unless that happens, my bias is still to just try to pick patterns that are at the bottom that are going up here that meet, all the same requirements. Let's see. I mean, so just look at the behavior. Where are they at? You see that? Where are they spiking to?
Right, but when I see that, I always see the EMAs as a barrier.
Don't forget about the EMAs as a barrier. Don't let the EMAs stop you. You know what I mean? From taking a trade. Remember that if you're in an accumulation cycle, this shit's going to go through the EMAs back and forth, back and forth. You get what I'm saying? So don't let the
Okay.
EMAs stop you. Just use them as take profit points.
Okay.
That's it. Just use them as take profit points. That's all you want to do is use them as take profit points.
So right here, you choose either the 200 or the 800.
Yeah. Just look at the behavior of what's happening. Look at that. Spike. Spike. That right there. Do you see that? That right there would tell you that they don't want to be here no more. This one candle then took out all these. You see that? They don't want to be here. So ideally, you'd want to get a pullback on the next candle, right? Because even if this wasn't COVID, this candle's probably like freaking 40 pips or something like that on a regular day. You know, during COVID, that candle's like, 67 pips. So you want to pull back. At least half of that candle would be, ideal. So that would give you the entry that you want. And so there you go. That right there is your entry to go up higher. Now, because you're entering here, you see, it doesn't make sense for you to just go to the 200. Do you get what I'm saying? Because it's close. It's the same thing back here on this day. You're not taking profit at the 50. That doesn't make any sense. So your take profit is actually up here at the 800. Does that make sense? So your take profit is here. So look, so right now, that's your range from the beginning of the week. This is actually playing so far in a small, even in a much smaller range. Do you see that? So it went from a range of this big, which is 750 pip range, right? To now it's for the last 1.5 days, it's been working in a 394 pip range. And don't let the numbers like the ranges of how big the numbers are. Think of it if this was like 50 pip range or whatever, if it wasn't pandemic or whatever. But just pay attention to the fact that that's the range that it's working with. So if you look at price action of what it's doing, how it's behaving, it's just bouncing off the highs, coming back down, and working so forth and so on. So that was Wednesday. Here's what, Thursday now. See, so look what happens on Thursday. We're not even in the London session yet. And you can see we've like peaked, you know what I mean? We've kind of peaked outside of that range that we were in for 2 days. The bigger range is still in play though, because that's where it started on Sunday, Monday, right? So again, we're still looking. I'd still be looking for buys because we still have all this room up here to go to. So is there any kind of, pattern or price action that happens to where I can take another trade to buy that makes sense?
Does I know you told me not to look at it, but does the 800 in this matter work? I guess as a directional bias.
I mean, what directional bias are you getting right now from any of the EMAs? You're not getting any directional bias.
Right, but as it's shifting the zone.
Shifting, you're still within the Sunday, Monday's range. Do you get what I'm saying? Well, the only thing that I'm telling you is that we're no longer working within that smaller range that it was in the last 2 days. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just moving higher, basically, right?
Right, but at the end of the day, it's just gonna keep waving through price.
It's at the end of the day, right? We're just talking about it moving like this.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Okay. Right.
We're not talking about it making any kind of big major moves or anything like that. We're still working within a range, no matter what.
So in this situation, only use the EMAs as a take profit, or I guess signal.
Right. You're going to be using the EMAs as take profit because you're taking trades from the bottom or from the top. So you're going to, the EMAs being in the middle, right? You're going to be able to use them as take profits here or take profits down here.
Right.
You know what I mean? The main thing that the EMAs are telling you this specific week is that we're accumulating.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
We're accumulating this week. So if you have patterns that you can use them to take profits on, by all means, do it.
But not patterns to enter a trade.
I mean, the patterns that enter the trade are here clearly.
Right. No, but with the EMAs, pretty much like the
Talking
50.
about like pinning to the 200 and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You can't use them like that. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, look at what happened. Look what's happening right now. Right. Since the EMAs are going literally straight through the Asian range and straight through the London session, look what price action is doing. It's like complete utter garbage. Do you see that? It's complete utter garbage.
It's like it's just noise.
It's just exactly. It's just noise. It's just literally noise. Nothing. See that? Look, it's going to stay within this and probably this middle of the range here. And it's just going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Not doing anything. Do you see what I mean? So what is it?
Right, because that would have looked like a confirmation right there.
Confirmation to not take a trade. What confirmation would you be looking for? If you've gone 2 sessions like this, like what are you going to take? Like, do you really want to take a trade in all that stuff?
Well, especially because you're right smack in the middle of that range too.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're going back, literally back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's like trying to go drag racing, and you're going on a highway that's jam packed in a traffic jam. It's just complete utter garbage.
Yeah, it looks like Monday and Tuesday they did a good move, and then Thursday they're probably going to accumulate and then break out later.
Right.
Trap the volume and then break out.
So now look, Friday, this is Friday, right? Yeah, Friday. Friday is a much better day because look, we've cleared out, prices moved above, you know what I mean? All that crap. You know what I'm saying? You're still looking for buys though, because you still have all that space to go. You know, look, you're coming from the bottom. Do you see that? So it's like you're doing this and then you're slowly just trying to go up to this top. So look where price action is here. It's at the very top of the range. I mean, if you kind of look at it, like I'm trying to look for like a type 3 possibly to bounce off of that, or maybe a type 2 to bounce off of one of these. So something like that would be like my ideal trade that I'd be looking for.
Yeah, it looks like a short squeeze, but I don't trust Friday. But I can see them trapping shorts.
Yep. See. Yep. Keep going. Right there. Right there. Right there. Do you see that? Pin, 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 pin again. Gone. 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 See that? That right there. Remember that pattern of a big candle, three little dojis, another big candle. I mean, how many times am I going to say this? I feel like I'm a damn tape reporter on replay or something. That was the trade right there. You had a pullback right here all the way right here. If you know the behavior, like you're getting in somewhere in one of these three candles because you already know what's happening. So what was that? What was that? So I mean, this is 3-1, almost. Yeah, 3-1. It's probably going to stop at the 50 here, maybe. Consolidate. Nope. That's it. That's what they do. See? So look at the amount of trades that were here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 trades on a what I consider a shitty week, you know, of an accumulation cycle. But there are 4 trades that if you understand the behavior, you can take. Yeah, 800 pips, man. I mean, so you this is like pandemic numbers, right? So if they weren't pandemic numbers, I mean, instead of like 200 pips, really, you'd be looking at what's the average on this, Troy? It's like 70 pips on a 2-1, 3-1.
It all depends. I mean, sometimes when I'm in the trades, London might move 70 pips, and then New York might retrace it 50, but
yeah. So take these numbers, you know, to be more realistic, instead of 200, maybe like 50, 70 or so. But I mean, still
well over 50 easily.
Well over 50 easy, yeah, because these, you know, the daily average range on these are like 150 or so or more. So well over 50. So if you know the behavior, you can do this. If you know the behavior, you can do this. Hands down. It's just literally putting in the time to learn the behavior of each pair. The hardest things that you're going to have to do is figure out what pairs you like But once you find that pair, is now starting to get to know the behaviors of that pair. And once you get the behaviors down, it's game over. It's literally game over. Questions?
Yeah, just one. When you say behaviors, you mean things like shoot, how would I say?
Things that make you start questioning what they're doing. So you start asking yourself, why? How many times are you going to spike this? You know what I'm saying? Why not keep going? Why aren't you keep going? Why are you keep hitting the same spot over and over and over and over again? Why are you doing that? Why are you spiking this so much? You know? Why?
Right, and you would see that same behavior over and over.
Why would you spike it? At the end of the day, remember, all you're doing is trying to find the high and the low of the day.
Right.
That's it. You're trying to find the high and the low of the day. The high here and the low here. The high here and the low here. That's all you're trying to do. When they get to the high and the low of the day, you're going to start to see this behavior. Just look at any chart, doesn't matter what chart it is. Look what happens when they get to the high and the low of the day. What happens when they get to the high and the low of the day? Any chart you go to, the same thing over and over again. What happens? What happens? You know, every pair has their little, you know, behaviors that they do. But I mean, once you learn it, it's over. You won't need to necessarily wait for a 5 and 13 crossover. You know? Questions?
Yeah, in my with back testing, I know you said go through and you know go through and see what every day, see what pairs we do type ones, type twos, type threes, and you said pick your favorite one, the one you recognize the most and you might do well on the most. But I was just thinking like, so if I see just say I like type threes and I see it it doing a type two clearly, I mean, are you saying just don't take it or what? Like,
I'm
you know
saying
what I'm
you can
saying?
trade whatever you want to trade, right? You can trade whatever you want to trade. For me, like if I'm trading a specific pair, right? If I'm trading, Euro JPY or pound USD or gold or whatever, like there's certain setups that I want, that I feel like 1,000% confident taking, just because I've taken them over and over and over again. So I'm comfortable, for me, waiting for that setup to appear. That setup may not come for 3 days. Hell, it may not come for a week and a half, right? But for me, that's the setup that I want to take, and that's the setup that I'm willing to wait for.
Okay, so you just willing to wait for it.
The problem is that most traders, right, they don't have the ability to wait for those setups because they're on a they're basically trying to make money right now, right? They need to make money right now to pay bills, pay rent, pay house, whatever, right? So in the back of their minds, they're always thinking, I need to take a trade. I need to take a trade. I need to take a trade. Right. And that was like that the same way when I first started trading. But now that I have an account that's built, right, it allows me the luxury not to feel like I'm missing out on something, and the luxury that I don't have to trade every day. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But it takes time to build that account up for you to be able to do that.
yeah. So in the midst of building my account, and
In the
I'm
midst of
noticing,
building that account, you're going to be, probably looking at trading, multiple different setups. What
okay,
I'm telling you
yeah,
to do is to find that one or two setups that you like, that you can consistently follow and do over and over and over again.
yeah,
Because the one thing that I told you in week 1 is, like, if you don't have a job, go get a job, right?
yeah,
Because you ain't going to be rich after 12 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So 12 weeks is really the studying part of the schooling, right? After the 12 weeks, that's when the shit really begins, because that's when you're actually going back testing and all that stuff, and getting the data and all that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But if you don't have income coming in right now, right, the only thing that you're thinking about is taking a trade, you know? So you don't give yourself, you're not really giving yourself a real shot, because you're constantly putting yourself the pressure, because you need to pay rent or pay the mortgage or pay, the car bill or insurance or the light bill or whatever. You know what I mean? That's the biggest problem. So that's why I tell, if you can just home in the skill, right? If you can home in the skill, you can take the challenge and be a funded trader. You know what I mean? And that'll give you the income that you need, as long as you know what you're doing. But you got to know what you're doing. So knowing that, let's say if you pass the challenge for, 100K account, knowing that you have 100K that you can trade, as leverage, is huge. Because now, instead of trading your $500 account or $1,000 account, you're trading $100,000 account. And if you know how to trade $100,000 account, then you're trading 3 to 4 trades a week, and each of those trades is bringing you, you know, $1,000, $2,000 a trade, because of the account size that you have. But if you're trying to grow a $500, $1,000 account, it's going to take a very long time. You know,
Mark, is it fair to say it's 20% technical and 80% mental?
it's heavily mental. Yes. I would probably say more like 90-10.
90-10. Oh shit.
Because the technical stuff you can learn, right?
Right.
It's literally the mental stuff, man. The mental stuff will really mess you up. And I'm telling you, because I sometimes forget, and I sometimes get caught up in it too, man. I'm not perfect, you know? I lose trades too. The only difference is that I don't care if I lose them or not. When you first start out, you have an attachment to losing trades. But as long as you know how to stop the losing streak and how to start a winning streak again, you'll be fine. And we talk about that, I think it's week 9.
So, Mark, just to recap, um, overall, so when I backtest, first I want to look at the overall bigger picture, so the daily chart, and then look at where price wants to go, and then cross out pretty much the solution. It's gonna either the next week pretty much focus on weekly cycles. Um, after I determine the directional bias, right?
Right. So I think what you have to understand is when you're back testing, right? What is the purpose? Think about what's the purpose of back testing. When you think about back testing, what do you think is the purpose of back testing?
Muscle memory.
Muscle memory. What else?
Study the behavior.
Your biggest thing that you're doing when back testing is collecting data. Think about it. If you have to trade for the rest of your life 2 or 3 pairs, don't you want to know what the pairs actually do? Right? Wouldn't you like to know which pair likes to do type 1s more or type 3s more? Or what pairs like to do trending cycles more? If you're the type of person that likes to trade type 3 trades during trending cycles, specifically, let's say, wouldn't you want to know what pair actually does that? Because I can guarantee there's pairs that do that all the time, and there's pairs that never do that. So backtesting is really about gathering data, as much of it as possible at one time. And so when I was doing backtesting, I didn't have spreadsheets. I didn't even know how to freaking open up Excel spreadsheet. I do know how to write down on a notebook and piece of paper in a journal on paper, right? So that's what I did. So all my backtesting is done on a piece of paper. What does Pound USD like to do? For the past 2 years on Pound USD, what's the favorable setup on that pair? How many cycles has it done? How many trending cycles has it done? You know? So these things are things that you want to know, because that's what's going to give you an edge, your advantage. Right? These are things that nobody else knows unless they go back and back test. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I be having a problem with like the times I need to get up. So you know what I'm saying? Either get
Sure.
up too early, or you know what I mean? It'd be like, oh, I got up too late, I missed the move and stuff like that. So I'm sure like back test is definitely gonna help me with that.
So literally, so here's the thing, right? So like I can tell you on gold, I can tell you how many market maker cycles it's created since 2018. I can tell you how many accumulation cycles have been created since 2018. I can tell you how many trending cycles have been created since 2018. I can tell you how many times it's repeated cycles back and forth. So how many cycles, how many trending cycles, how many times has gold repeated a trending cycle? How many times has it repeated an accumulation cycle or a market maker cycle? You know, same thing for JPY, Euro JPY. Those are the things that give you your edge because you know these things. Other people don't, right? So if you want to do this for an extremely long time, you got to have a pair that you know, that you understand the behaviors that it likes to do over and over and over again. So if you know that gold likes to repeat trending cycles over and over and over again, would you expect it to have accumulation cycles very often? No. If you know that Euro JPY does twice as many trending cycles than it does accumulation cycles, wouldn't that be an advantage to know that? Do you see what I'm saying? These are all things that you only get when you collect data through backtesting. If I had to do backtesting all over again and start from scratch, I would get as much data as possible. That way I wouldn't have to go back and get and replay the charts. You know? So these are all things that you can get that matter because it's going to give you a bigger picture of what that pair likes to do and what it doesn't like to do. Like I said, getting to know these pairs is just like having a relationship, going on a date, taking them out to dinner, getting to know them. And if you find out in the middle of the date that you don't really like them or that you don't really, kind of understand, then that's fine. You can leave, right? You can leave, pick a different pair, It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. All right. We're going to get into back testing here shortly. I think it's like in another week.
Hey, Mark.
Yep.
Did y'all go over the Discord thing at the beginning or not?
No, we haven't gone over Discord at all.
Okay.
Just make sure you guys have a Discord account because we're going to start to do everything in Discord. We're going to start to do even the trade room sessions during the week through Discord because we get better audio quality and video quality as well. So, and we don't have to deal with Zoom and all that stuff. So if you haven't made a Discord account, please make one.
So next session is on Discord, right?
We're gonna give it about another week or so because there's still some things that I don't understand about Discord because I'm new to using it also. Right. So I just, before I say, hey, let's all move to Discord, I want to make sure that I understand, how to set up all the rooms, that everything's working correctly, that I know how to record everything and stuff like that. So I'm going to be doing some testing this week just to make sure that I know what I'm doing with it,
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll let you guys know when it's fully on Discord or whatnot. So
dope.
All right. But I think it'll give us a lot of flexibility to do other things. I think it'll give us, a chance. Me and Travis started thinking about doing podcasts and stuff like that. And it'll just give us a lot more flexibility to do other things as well. That Telegram does it. All right.
For sure. Thank you. Again.
Good. Thanks, Mark.
You guys have a good one. Be safe.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep.